A millionaire groom abandoned his fiancée at the altar. But when she showed up years later, Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to the story. It had been 3 weeks since that awkward blind date, and Emma couldn't stop replaying the scene in her mind. The way she'd thought Liam was Kevin, the way she'd run out of the restaurant in embarrassment. She had tried to laugh it off with Jenny, but deep down it stung. She was used to rejection, to feeling out of place, but that night felt different. There was something about Liam, something that made her feel like she could be herself for once. He had been kind to her, even when he could have easily pointed out her mistake and let her walk away in embarrassment. But he hadn't. He had simply smiled and let her explain herself. And for the first time in a long time, Emma had felt seen. She hadn't expected to see him again. But the memory of their conversation lingered in her mind. That was until one evening, when the phone rang. It was Jenny, and Emma could already tell from the tone of her voice that something was off. After the gala, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that things had changed. Liam had been kind, but something in the way he looked at her felt different than the first time they met. She tried to push the thought out of her mind, telling herself that it was probably just a fleeting moment, nothing more than a chance encounter. But as the days passed, she found herself thinking about him more often than she cared to admit. It was confusing. She had come to the event hoping for a brief, awkward reunion, but instead, it had left her wondering what might have been. She hadn't expected Liam to be so sincere. He hadn't treated her like just another person in the crowd, and that made all the difference. It was as if he truly remembered her. Emma went back to her routine work, her small apartment, the occasional coffee with Jenny, but something was missing. The busy days felt a little emptier, and she found herself distracted. Was it wrong to feel this way? After all, he had left her without a word all those years ago, without any explanation. And yet, every time she thought about it, the memory of their brief conversation at the gala stuck with her. A week later, Emma was getting ready for another long day at the gallery when her phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. She hesitated for a moment before opening it, unsure of what to expect. The message was short, but it made her heart race. "Hi Emma, it's Liam. I've been thinking about our conversation at the gala. I was wondering if you'd like to meet for coffee sometime. I'd really like to catch up." She stared at the message, trying to process it. Liam? Reaching out to her? 1,000 thoughts raced through her mind. She had told herself that she wouldn't get caught up in any fantasies, but this was different. This was real. She wasn't sure what had made him reach out to her, but the idea of seeing him again felt both thrilling and terrifying. Was it just a casual invitation, or was there something more to it? After a few moments, Emma took a deep breath, trying to steady her nerves. She quickly typed a response. "Hi Liam, I'd love to meet up. How about this weekend?" She hit send before she could second-guess herself. The response came almost immediately. "Sounds great. Let me know when and where. I'm looking forward to it." A flood of emotions washed over Emma: excitement, nervousness, and a sense of hope she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. The weekend couldn't come fast enough. On the day of their meeting, Emma stood in front of the small coffee shop, anxiously checking her reflection in the window. She had dressed casually but carefully, wanting to look approachable yet still put together. Her heart pounded in her chest as she spotted Liam walking towards the cafe. He was dressed simply in a button-up shirt and jeans, but even in casual clothes there was something striking about him. His presence was undeniable. When he saw her, his face broke into a warm smile, and Emma felt a wave of relief. "Hi Emma," he greeted, his voice full of warmth. "It's really good to see you again." "Hi Liam," she replied, trying to keep her composure. "It's been a while." They sat down and, for a few moments, neither of them spoke. The silence wasn't awkward, but rather comfortable, as though the years apart had dissolved the tension. Finally, Liam spoke. "I've been meaning to apologize for what happened all those years ago," he said, his voice sincere. "I never gave you a proper explanation, and I've always regretted that. I was in a difficult place at the time, and I handled it all wrong. I didn't want to hurt you, but I did, and for that, I'm truly sorry." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected him to bring it up, and the apology hit her harder than she anticipated. She hadn't realized just how much she had carried the weight of that day. She had never gotten closure, never truly understood why he left. And now here he was, apologizing, offering an explanation she hadn't known she needed. She took a deep breath, her fingers tightening around her coffee cup. "Thank you," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't expect you to say that." Liam gave her a small, understanding smile. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I hope you can see that I've changed. I'm not the same person I was back then." Emma looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time, she saw the man he had become, not the millionaire who had once abandoned her, but someone who had grown, someone who was taking responsibility for his past. She wasn't sure what it meant for their future, but in that moment, she felt something shift between them. Maybe it was the start of something new, or maybe it was simply the closure she had needed all along. But whatever it was a step forward, and for the first time in a long time, Emma felt like she was ready to take it. After their coffee, Emma couldn't stop thinking about Liam's apology and the way he had opened up to her. It had been a while since anyone had been that honest with her, and it stirred something deep inside her. She had always carried the weight of that day, when he had walked away without a word. For years, she had convinced herself that he didn't care, that he had used her. But now, listening to him, she wasn't so sure. He had seemed sincere, and it was clear that he had changed, but could she really forgive him that easily? She wasn't sure. The next few days were filled with a mix of emotions. On one hand, she was grateful for the closure, for the chance to finally hear Liam's side of the story. On the other hand, a part of her still wasn't ready to fully let him back into her life. She had spent so long building walls around herself, protecting her heart from people who might hurt her again. Yet, when she thought about Liam, she realized that the walls she had built were starting to crack. He had already proven that he was different from the man she had known before. But was that enough? She wasn't ready to dive back into a relationship with him. Not yet. It would take time. Liam, on the other hand, wasn't about to give up. He texted her a few days later, asking if she'd like to meet again. "Hey Emma, I was thinking, would you like to grab dinner sometime soon? Just the two of us. No pressure. I'd love to talk more." Emma stared at the message for a long moment. She hadn't expected him to reach out again so soon, but the truth was, part of her wanted to see him. She wasn't sure if she was ready to jump back into things, but she missed their conversations, and she missed the way he made her feel like she mattered. With a deep breath, she typed her response. "Dinner sounds nice. How about Friday?" The reply came almost immediately. "Perfect. I'll make a reservation at that little Italian place you mentioned. I'll pick you up at 7. Emma couldn't help but smile. There was something comforting about the way Liam made plans, the way he seemed genuinely interested in getting to know her again. Maybe this was the next step. Maybe this was what she needed to see if they could really have a future. On Friday evening, Emma found herself standing in front of the mirror, unsure of what to wear. She didn't want to look like she was trying too hard, but she also didn't want to show up underdressed. She settled on a simple but elegant dress, one that made her feel confident but comfortable. As she checked her appearance one last time, she felt a rush of nerves. This was it. She was going to see Liam again, and this time, it would be different. The night was cooler than she expected, and as she stepped outside to wait for Liam, she couldn't help but feel a little self-conscious. But when he pulled up in his car, his warm smile made everything feel better. "You look beautiful," Liam said as he opened the door for her. Emma smiled, trying to push aside the butterflies in her stomach. "Thank you," she said, sliding into the car. The drive to the restaurant was filled with easy conversation, just like their coffee meeting. Liam had a way of making her feel at ease, even when the world around them seemed overwhelming. When they arrived at the restaurant, a cozy Italian place with soft lighting and a romantic atmosphere, Emma felt a sense of calm wash over her. It was the perfect setting for what felt like a new beginning. As they sat down and ordered, the conversation naturally turned to their lives since the last time they had seen each other. Emma found herself telling Liam more than she had told anyone in years. She talked about her dreams for the future, about her art gallery, and about how she had always felt like something was missing in her life. Liam listened intently, nodding along, and sharing a bit about his own journey, how he had gone through his own struggles, and how he had started to focus more on the things that truly mattered: family, friends, and finding happiness, rather than just chasing success. As the night went on, Emma couldn't help but feel like they were starting to reconnect on a deeper level. The connection that had been there at the gala, the one that had felt so real despite the awkwardness, was still there, maybe even stronger. But she wasn't ready to dive in completely just yet. She had to remind herself that this was just the beginning, They still had a long way to go. After dinner, Liam drove her back to her apartment. As they sat in front of her building, the atmosphere felt different. There was no rush, no pressure, just the quiet hum of the city around them. "I'm really glad we did this," Emma said, looking over at Liam. He smiled softly. "Me too." He paused, his expression turning serious. "I know it's been a long time, and I know I hurt you, but I want you to know, I'm here now, and I'm willing to take things slow, whatever that means for you. I'm not going anywhere." Emma looked at him, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. Maybe she wasn't ready to fall in love again, but maybe, just maybe, they could start building something new, something real. She smiled, her heart lighter than it had been in years. "Thank you, Liam," she said quietly. "Let's see where this goes." Over the next few weeks, Emma and Liam began to spend more time together. They met for coffee, took long walks through the park, and even went to a few art galleries that Emma loved. With every meeting, Emma felt herself letting go of the walls she had built around her heart, piece by piece. She could see that Liam was genuinely trying to make up for his past mistakes, but the fear of being hurt again still lingered in the back of her mind. She wasn't ready to dive back into something that could break her heart, but every time they talked, every time they laughed, she felt a glimmer of hope. One Saturday afternoon, they decided to go on a day trip to the countryside. It was something Emma had always wanted to do, but she had never had the chance. Liam had arranged everything, and they were going to explore a small town known for its charming little cafes and beautiful hiking trails. When Emma arrived at her apartment to meet him, she was surprised to find him standing outside with a bouquet of wildflowers in hand. He smiled when he saw her, and she couldn't help but smile back. "For you," he said, holding out the flowers. Emma took them, her heart skipping a beat. "They're beautiful," she said, breathing in the fresh scent. "Thank you. I thought you might like them," Liam said, his smile warm. "Shall we?" He offered her his arm, and she took it, feeling a flutter of excitement. As they drove through the countryside, the conversation flowed effortlessly between them. They talked about everything, about their pasts, their dreams, and the things that made them happy. Emma was amazed at how comfortable she felt with Liam now, how easy it was to just be herself around him. When they arrived in the small town, they wandered through the cobblestone streets, stopping to admire the old buildings and the quaint little shops. They visited a bakery and shared a cinnamon roll, and Emma felt a sense of peace that she hadn't experienced in a long time. It was just the two of them, no pressure, no expectations, just a day to enjoy each other's company. As the day went on, Liam suggested they take a hike through the nearby woods. The trail was quiet and peaceful, and the air was fresh with the scent of pine. They walked side by side, chatting about everything and nothing, until they reached the top of a small hill that overlooked the town below. The view was breathtaking, rolling hills in the distance, the town nestled in the valley, and the golden sunlight casting a warm glow over everything. Liam stopped and turned to Emma, his expression serious. "Emma, I know things haven't been easy for us, and I know I hurt you in the past," he said, his voice soft but filled with sincerity. "But I want you to know that I'm not going anywhere this time. I'm here for you, and I want to be the person you can count on, no matter what." Emma's heart fluttered in her chest. She hadn't expected him to say that, not so directly, not with such certainty. For a moment, she felt overwhelmed, unsure of how to respond. She had come so far, had allowed herself to trust again, but could she really open her heart to him fully? She took a deep breath and looked at him, her eyes searching his face for the truth in his words. "Liam, the first." She paused, feeling the weight of her own emotions. "I'm not sure if I'm ready for this. I want to believe you, but I need time." Liam nodded, understanding in his eyes. "I know, and I'm not asking you to rush. I just want you to know that I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. Take all the time you need." Emma smiled, her heart feeling lighter than it had in years. "Thank you," she said softly. "That means more to me than you know." They stood there for a few moments, watching the sunset together in comfortable silence, and for the first time in a long while, Emma felt truly at peace. Maybe this was the beginning of something beautiful, something real. Maybe she was ready to take the next step, one day at a time. As the evening drew to a close, Liam took her hand and led her back down the trail. The air was cooler now, and Emma could feel the warmth of his hand around hers, grounding her in the present moment. They drove back to the city as the stars began to twinkle above them, and Emma realized that, for the first time, she wasn't afraid of the future. Whatever happened between them, she was ready to face it. Together. Over the following weeks, Emma and Liam continued to spend time together, but this time, it felt different. The pressure from their past had slowly started to fade, replaced by a sense of comfort that had grown between them. Emma found herself opening up more than she ever had before, and Liam in turn seemed to be letting down the walls he had carefully built around himself. They were no longer just two people with a history of misunderstandings and regrets. They were two people learning to trust each other again, one step at a time. One evening, after another quiet dinner together, they sat on Emma's couch, sipping wine and chatting about everything from the future to their favorite childhood memories. Emma had begun to see Liam in a new light. He wasn't just the millionaire tech mogul she had once believed him to be. He was a man with his own struggles, his own dreams, and his own vulnerabilities. And for the first time in a long time, Emma felt like she could be herself around him without any masks, without any pretenses. As the conversation lulled, Liam leaned forward slightly, his eyes soft but serious. "Emma," he began, his voice lower than usual, "I know we've taken things slow, and I know you're still figuring things out, but I just want you to know, I'm serious about us. I'm not in a rush, but I don't want you to doubt that I care about you. I care about you a lot." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected him to say that, not so directly. It was as if all the uncertainty that had been swirling around in her mind suddenly cleared. She had never doubted that Liam cared about her, but hearing him say it out loud made everything feel more real. She took a deep breath, steadying herself before speaking. "Liam, I've been scared for so long, afraid of letting anyone in again. You have to understand, I've been hurt before, and it's not easy for me to trust. But I can see how much you've changed, how much you've grown, and I think I'm ready to take that next step with you." Her voice was soft but steady as she looked at him, trying to gauge his reaction. He didn't say anything for a moment, just looked at her with that same warmth in his eyes. And then, with a small, gentle smile, he reached for her hand. "I understand, Emma," he said, his voice quiet. "I'm not asking for anything more than what you're ready to give. I just want you to know that I'm here, and I'm willing to be patient. You don't have to rush. I'm in this for the long haul, no matter what that looks like." Emma's heart fluttered, and she squeezed his hand in return. For the first time in what felt like forever, she allowed herself to fully believe that things could be different this time, that love didn't have to be filled with doubt and fear. It could be something peaceful, something real. The next day, Liam had an unexpected meeting, and Emma was left to enjoy a quiet afternoon on her own. She wandered around the art gallery, taking in the familiar sights and sounds of the place she had worked so hard to build. It had always been her dream to open her own space, to showcase the kind of art she loved. But it wasn't just about the art. It was about building something that could stand on its own, something she could be proud of. As she walked through the gallery, she realized how much it had come to mean to her. It wasn't just a job, it was a reflection of who she was, of everything she had worked for. Her thoughts were interrupted when she spotted a familiar face walking through the door. It was Liam. He smiled as soon as he saw her, and for a moment, everything else faded away. "Hey," he said, walking up to her. "I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd stop by." Emma smiled back, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "It's good to see you," she said, her voice soft but genuine. "I didn't expect you to show up here." "I wanted to," he said, glancing around the gallery. "This place, it's beautiful. I've always admired how much effort you've put into making it what it is." Emma's heart swelled at his words. It wasn't often that someone recognized the work she had put in, and hearing Liam say it meant more than she could express. "Thank you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "This place means a lot to me." He took a step closer to her, his expression serious. "I know," he said, "and I want to be a part of it in any way that I can. I want to be here for you, Emma. I want to help you build something amazing." Emma felt her breath catch in her throat. The sincerity in his words was overwhelming. She had never imagined that Liam, the man who had once abandoned her, would now be standing here, offering his support. And yet, here he was, offering her more than just love, he was offering her partnership. The thought left her speechless for a moment. "Liam, she started, but words failed her. "You've already given me so much," she finally managed to say, her voice trembling slightly. He smiled gently and brushed a strand of hair from her face. "You deserve everything, Emma, and I'm here for all of it." In that moment, Emma realized that she wasn't just falling in love with Liam again, she was falling in love with the person he had become, with the man who stood before her now, not the one who had walked away years ago. Maybe this was the beginning of something more than she had ever dreamed of, something that would change their lives forever. As they stood there in the quiet gallery, Emma took a deep breath, ready to let go of the past and embrace the future, whatever it held. As the weeks passed, Emma and Liam's connection grew deeper. They had started to build something real, and it felt like the pieces of their broken past were finally coming together. Emma felt more at ease with Liam than she ever thought possible, but the closer they got, the more she started to worry. She had spent so much time guarding her heart, and now that she was beginning to open up, she couldn't help but fear the possibility of being hurt again. Liam had proven that he had changed, that he was different from the man who had abandoned her years ago, but Emma was still haunted by the past. She wasn't sure if she was ready to fully let go of her fears. One evening, after a quiet dinner at her apartment, they sat on the couch together, the soft glow of the lamp casting shadows across the room. The conversation was easy, as it always was between them, but Emma could sense that something was off. She looked at Liam, her heart pounding in her chest. "Liam," she began, her voice shaky, "there's something I need to talk to you about." Liam looked up at her, concern in his eyes. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice gentle. "I've been thinking a lot about us," Emma said, trying to find the right words. "About everything. I know we've come a long way, but I'm still scared. I don't want to get hurt again. I've been so careful with my heart. And now that I'm starting to let you in, I don't know if I can fully trust that this is real." Liam didn't say anything at first. He simply reached out, taking her hand in his, and for a moment, Emma felt the warmth of his touch settle her nerves. "I understand," he said softly. "You've been hurt, Emma. I know that, and I don't want to push you into anything you're not ready for. But I want you to know that I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm not like the man I was before. I'm not going to leave you again. You can trust me." Emma felt a lump form in her throat. She had been afraid of opening herself up to him, afraid of letting go of the walls she had built around her heart. But hearing him say those words, hearing the sincerity in his voice, made something inside her shift. "I want to believe you," Emma said quietly, her voice thick with emotion. "But it's hard. I've spent so long protecting myself, and now that I'm starting to feel like maybe we could have something, I don't know if I can handle the idea of losing it all again." Liam squeezed her hand gently. "Emma, I'm not asking for everything all at once. I'm not rushing you, but I want you to know that I'm committed to you, to us. We can take this as slow as you need. I just want you to know that I'm not going anywhere." Emma looked into his eyes, and for the first time, she saw the depth of his feelings for her. She could see the care in his gaze, the love that he had never been able to express before, and it was enough to make her heart soften. She took a deep breath, the weight of her fears slowly lifting. "Okay," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Okay, I'll trust you. I'll try." Liam's face lit up with a smile, and for a moment, it felt like the world outside didn't matter. They didn't need anything but each other. "Thank you, Emma," he said, his voice full of relief and joy. "You don't know how much this means to me." They sat there in silence for a while, just holding each other's hands, letting the quiet settle in. It was a moment of peace, a moment of understanding. Emma didn't know what the future held, but for the first time, she felt like maybe, just maybe, she was ready to face it with Liam by her side. The next few weeks were filled with small moments of progress. They continued to spend time together, enjoying each other's company, and slowly building the trust that had been broken long ago. There were still moments of doubt, moments when Emma questioned whether she was making the right choice. But Liam was always there, reassuring her, showing her that he was committed to their future. One evening, as they sat in the park watching the sunset, Liam turned to her with a serious expression. "Emma, I want to ask you something," he said, his voice a little hesitant. "I know we've only just started building this, but I want you to know that I'm thinking about the future. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Would you be open to that? To us? Together?" Emma's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected him to say something so bold, so soon. But as she looked at him, at the sincerity in his eyes, she realized that she had no doubt in her mind. She wanted that too. She wanted to take the next step with him. "Yes," she said softly, a smile playing at the corners of her lips. "Yes, I want that too." And with that, the future that once seemed so uncertain began to take shape, and Emma felt her heart open in a way it hadn't in years. Maybe, just maybe, this time, everything would be different. As the days turned into weeks, Emma and Liam continued to grow closer, their bond strengthening with every passing moment. The once daunting idea of trusting someone again no longer felt so impossible. With every conversation, every shared laugh, Emma felt more certain that this was real. She had spent so many years guarding her heart, but now, for the first time in a long time, she was starting to believe in love again. One evening, as they sat together on the balcony of her apartment, the soft hum of the city around them, Emma found herself looking at Liam with a new sense of clarity. The man sitting beside her was the man she had always hoped for, the one who understood her, who supported her, and who was there when she needed him most. He wasn't perfect, but neither was she. Together, they had found something that was better than perfection, something real, something meaningful. "Liam," Emma said, her voice soft as she turned to face him, "I've been thinking a lot about everything, about us, and I just want you to know that I'm all in. I trust you. I'm ready for whatever comes next." Liam's eyes softened, and a warm smile spread across his face. "Emma, that means more to me than you could ever know. I'm all in too, and I promise, I won't ever give up on us." The sincerity in his words made Emma's heart swell. For the first time in years, she felt completely seen and understood, and it was a feeling she couldn't get enough of. As the days passed, their connection deepened even further. They shared more than just their hopes and dreams. They shared their fears and insecurities, things they had never dared to say aloud before. Liam confided in her about the pressures of his career, the weight of living up to the expectations of his family and his company. Emma, in turn, opened up about the loneliness she had felt for so long, the years of building walls around her heart to protect herself from being hurt again. It was a vulnerability that brought them even closer, creating a bond that felt unbreakable. One evening, as they took a walk through the city, the streets lit with the soft glow of streetlights, Liam stopped and turned to Emma. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice a little hesitant. "We've been through a lot together, and I know we've taken things slow, but I can't imagine my life without you in it. I don't want to wait any longer. I want you to know, Emma, that I'm ready for the next step. I want to spend the rest of my life with you." Emma felt a lump form in her throat. She hadn't expected him to say that, but hearing it made her heart race. She had been wondering when this moment would come, but now that it was here, she realized that she was ready too. "Liam," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion, "I'm ready too. I've never been more sure of anything in my life." Tears welled in her eyes as she looked up at him, feeling a rush of love and gratitude for the man who had shown her that love didn't have to be complicated or full of fear. Love could be simple, beautiful, and most importantly, it could be real. Liam took her hands in his expression full of emotion. "Then let's make it official," he said softly. "Let's build a life together. No more waiting, no more doubts, just us." Emma's heart swelled, and she smiled through her tears. "Yes," she said, her voice filled with certainty. "Yes, let's build that life together." In that moment, everything fell into place. The future that once seemed uncertain now felt full of promise, full of possibilities. And as Liam leaned in to kiss her, Emma knew that no matter what challenges they would face them together, hand in hand, ready for whatever life had in store. The days that followed were filled with joy and anticipation as they made plans for their future. They talked about everything: where they wanted to live, the kind of life they wanted to build, the little moments they hoped to share. It wasn't just about the big milestones. It was about the everyday moments that would make their life together special. Emma had once feared that love would only bring pain, but now she understood that love could also bring healing, hope, and a sense of belonging. And with Liam by her side, she knew that she had found the love she had always dreamed of, the kind of love that would last a lifetime. As they stood together looking out at the city skyline, Emma couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude for everything that had led her here. The heartbreak, the pain, and the uncertainty, it had all brought her to this moment. To the person standing beside her, the person who had become her everything. With Liam, Emma knew she had found her home, and she was ready to build a future full of love, trust, and endless possibilities. Months passed, and the life Emma and Liam were building together began to take shape in ways they had both hoped for. They had faced their fears, dealt with the ghosts of the past, and now they were creating something truly beautiful. Emma had never imagined that love could feel so steady, so full of trust and understanding. She had spent years guarding her heart, but with Liam, it felt like she was learning how to love again, in the healthiest way possible. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, and it was theirs. One evening, as they sat together in the quiet of their shared apartment, Emma looked around, feeling a sense of contentment that had once seemed impossible. The apartment they had moved into together was cozy, filled with laughter, memories, and the promise of more to come. It was a far cry from the lonely life she had lived before, and yet it felt like everything she had ever needed. Liam, who had been sitting across from her, looked up from the book he was reading, his eyes meeting hers. "You're quiet tonight," he said softly, his voice warm and curious. Emma smiled and set down her own book, taking a deep breath as she looked at him. "I was just thinking about how far we've come, how much we've been through together, and how much we've grown." Liam's expression softened, and he moved to sit next to her on the couch. "I've been thinking the same thing," he said, taking her hand in his. "We've been through a lot, but we've made it. We've built something amazing, and I can't imagine my life without you in it." Emma's heart fluttered at his words. She knew that they still had challenges to face, and life wouldn't always be easy, but in that moment, she realized that it didn't matter. They were in this together, and that was enough. "I feel the same way," she said, her voice soft but filled with certainty. "I've never been happier than I am right now with you. I'm finally where I belong." Liam smiled, his eyes full of love. "You're everything I've ever wanted, Emma. You've made me a better man, and I'm so grateful for you every day." Emma leaned her head against his shoulder, feeling the warmth of his presence. She closed her eyes for a moment, allowing herself to savor the peace that had settled over them. The future no longer felt like an uncertain, distant concept. It felt like something they could face together, hand in hand. It had been a long road, filled with ups and downs, but they had made it. They had found each other again, and they had found a love that was worth fighting for. "So," Liam said after a moment of comfortable silence, "what do you think about the next step?" Emma pulled back slightly, looking at him with curiosity. "The next step?" she asked, her brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" Liam smiled, a playful glint in his eye. "Well, I was thinking that after everything we've been through, it's about time I make this official," he said, reaching into his pocket. Emma's heart skipped a beat as Liam pulled out a small velvet box. He opened it to reveal a beautiful ring, glinting under the soft light of the room. "Emma, will you marry me?" he asked, his voice filled with love and sincerity. Tears welled up in Emma's eyes as she looked at the ring, then back at Liam. It was everything she had ever wanted and more. This was real, this was happening. The man who had once walked away, who had caused her so much pain, was now offering her a future filled with love, trust, and a commitment to make it last. "Yes," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Yes, I will marry you." Liam's face lit up with joy as he slipped the ring onto her finger, and Emma felt the weight of her fears, her doubts, all slip away in that moment. It wasn't about the ring or the ceremony, it was about the love they shared, the bond they had built, and the future they were ready to face together. As Liam kissed her softly, Emma knew that no matter what came their way, they would face it side by side. The road ahead wouldn't always be easy, but they had learned that with love, patience, and understanding, they could overcome anything. Their story, once filled with heartbreak, had now become a story of redemption, of love that healed, and of a future full of possibilities. Together, they were ready for whatever life had in store for them, knowing that they had found the one person they could truly trust each other.